Hello everyone, my name is Imad Ashar and I'm a third year medical student at the Lebanese American University. Today's presentation will be about the data extraction and the systematic review and the meta-analysis. So, like a brief overview, the data extraction is the most important part of the systematic review and the meta-analysis. Because if the extraction of the data and the variables is done wrong, our results will be uh, wrongs and hence the aim of the study won't be achieved. So it is very important to ensure proper extraction and minimizing error as much as possible. Now the learning objectives of this lecture is basically first of all to define data extraction and explain why it is important in research. Second of all, identify key information to extract from research studies. Third of all, describe the basic data extraction process and tools used, and finally, recognize common challenges and best practices in data extraction. So, first of all, what is data extraction? Data extraction is a structured process of pulling the relevant information from the included studies in our paper. It forms the foundation for both qualitative and quantitative meta analysis, and it ensures transparency, reproducibility, and accuracy. Now, the key elements to extract. Now, before digging on the specific elements we extract in the meta analysis and systematic review, these can be also applied in other studies. Now, uh, now the key elements to extract are, for example, the author's name, year, the journal name, study design, the methodology of the study, population characteristics, interventions, comparisons, the outcomes measured, effect size, statistical data, confidence intervals, funding sources, and conflicts of interest. So let's say we're looking, for example, at in my case, the study we published was Dr. Eli, and I'll be showing the extraction sheet as an example at the end. So our outcome basically was to assess psychological and sexual function for AIS patient if they are when they were treated with bracing. So the outcomes in this case, for example, are how sexual and psychological functions were assessed, the scores they used, and the results of these scores. So that's an example. The data extraction workflow. So basically, what I want you to get from this slide is that it's very important to have two independent reviewers to do data extraction. Now, not all researchers apply this technique, but I usually apply it when I do a systematic review because sometimes uh, we extract and we do errors. At the end of the day, we are humans. We are all prone to do errors. So it's very important to have two independent doing the extraction, and finally comparing both extraction if there is any inconsistency or discrepancy, and they can be resolved. And basically the software we use is Excel. Now Revman, I included it for the sake of completion, but based on my research they have a part for data extraction but it's not used. So basically Revman is only used to generate the forest and the funnel plots for the meta-analysis. And as you can see here, the tools we use are mainly Excel. Now the best practices for data extraction, first of all, are clear, standardized extraction forms, use duplicate extraction to reduce errors, document assumptions and decisions, maintain consistency across reviewers, and finally track missing data and contact authors when necessary. So when we're extracting this paper, if there is anything we are unsure of, we directly leave a question mark. We never assume and put an answer because this assumption might ruin the entire statistics of the paper. Now, the common challenges we face are first of all incomplete or inconsistent reporting, the varying study designs and outcome measures, interpreting ambiguous data, and finally managing large volume of studies. Now, as a conclusion, before moving to an example, data extraction is a critical step in systematic reviews and meta-analysis. It requires rigor, consistency, and transparency. Proper extraction ensures high quality synthesis and valid conclusions. Now I'm done with my presentation. I'll be showing you the data extraction form of the paper Beyond the Curve that we published with Dr. Eli as an example to show you how the extraction is done. So basically, as you can see here, this is the extraction form. For example, here are some of the variables we included, and we want these variables to be extracted from the papers. For example, the author's name, total number of participants. Now, specifically for our paper, we needed the number of controls, and the number of patients with AIS, the average age, the number of females, the males, the follow-up time. And also, this is another extraction form. This is the cleaner version of our form. Also, as you can see, the author's year of publication, the number of AIS patients, number of females, males, the number of braced surgery. Now, what I want you to get out of this extraction form is that mostly we have some universal variables that you want to include in the extraction form, which are, of course, the study ID, so the first author's name, the year of publication, the number of controls, the number of, now in our paper it is AIS, but for example, if we're doing a paper about odontoid fractures, the number of patients with odontoid fractures, or we're doing a paper about the number of patients with intact cuff repair, let's say, so we add this number. Also, the number of females and males is also common. Now, specific for our study is the scales used. Since we're assessing sexual and psychological function for AIS patients, we need to include the scales used to assess these outcomes, which, for example, are SIQ, Modam spine outcomes. So it depends. These are specific for our study. So, as a conclusion, as I mentioned, these are the universals, and based on what you're aiming to achieve, you include the variables. So before even forming the extraction form, you sit with yourself or with the team and ask yourself what we want to get from this paper, what we want to achieve, and what is the aim. And based on that, you do the extraction form. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.